Maybe we can get a sharing horse. We can name it after you. What do you think? The Italian stallion. Oh, how about that?
Anthony Gaffa, the first to actually selling racehorses online. Auction
I was
conditions.
the only person doing it for 3 years, so I had the entire market. Traditional auctions. Did horses really need to be moved to those regions to be sold? The horse can stay there in its comfort zone, in its safety zone. I remember having a guy say to me, mate, how am I going to get the horse and put it in the computer?
Auction 11 in America, 40 in New Zealand, around 500 in Australia. You are a serial entrepreneur.
I'm not a horse expert, but I knew enough about horses.
Yeah.
Mate, they've been doing it for hundreds of years. Gambling can have an impact on a family.
I put $50. I got excited. I put another 100 straight away. I lost $200.
Imagine if I had won and I'd pulled out, say, 200,000 that day. I would have been addicted for life.
Anthony Gaffa, thank you so much for coming in, mate. Appreciate
No
you.
worries. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Took you sometimes to us, sometimes to organize this, but we're here now. Thank you, mate.
Yeah,
Thank you for your
thanks
time.
thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, my friend.
Thank you, mate. So you are the pioneer of a horse online auction.
Yes, that's right.
You were the first one to actually create that in Australia?
Yeah. Well, actually, worldwide. There was no one doing it worldwide, and there was a little opening there, and like a pit bull, mate, I was in, and shit happened. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you were the first to create this business, which is very fascinating. I have a lot of questions around. And so you are the first to actually selling racehorses under auction conditions online.
Yeah, that's right, mate. So there was obviously the traditional auctions that they still do quite well.
Yeah.
Where you're moving horses around to the traditional auction space, whether in Queensland, Melbourne, New South, wherever. But did horses really need to be moved to those regions to be sold? And, my view was no. Why would you move a horse, livestock, from one state to another state to sell it when you can just list it online and expose it to a wide audience, expose it to people all around the world? It just made sense to me.
Yeah, looks like you resolved a big problem there.
Yeah, well, I think I did.
No, just thinking. So before every auctions, the horses, they need to come there, transported, the track, the petrol, the team, the trainer. Is that correct?
Correct, but fuck, I should get you in sales, mate. That was a good plug. I like that.
No, I'm just trying to think, and if you own a horse, say you want to sell one, it's like, all right, would I rather go through all that steps, or would I rather save? I don't even know. What's the money that you save?
Yeah, well, good point. Look, I mean, exactly what you just said, that moving a horse to get sold when you can just leave it in its familiar zone where, on the farm where the horse adjusts, where it's living. The horse can stay there in its comfort zone, in its safety zone.
Yeah.
The staff don't need to leave the farm. You don't need to travel the horse.
Yeah.
There's all these expenses in moving horses around. And, horses range from $1,000 a horse to $60 million for a horse, $70 million a horse. So this valuable livestock, do we really need to be moving them? And, the answer was no. And it made a lot of sense. And bringing people from all over the world to be able to bid on it.
Yeah.
When the horse doesn't even move, it just makes a lot of sense.
It does. And when did it start to take off in Australia?
Yeah, so it's 10 years now. 2014, I did my 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. So 2014, I had my first auction. I listed 27 horses. I think under auction conditions, we sold 23 out of 27. And then the next day I sealed the deal on pretty much every horse in that auction. So I'm like, fuck, I'm onto something here. It's got to work.
Yeah.
And then the next auction grew and grew and grew. And the good thing was I was the only person doing it in Australia, the world, for 3 years. So I had the entire market. When we talk about the pioneer, it's nice when you are the only person playing in a space.
Yeah.
But we can't become complacent. People are doing it now. And I just got to stay on top of the game, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and now like you sold 11 horses in America, 40 in New Zealand, and around 500
Yeah.
in Australia?
Yeah. So we've had 11 auctions in America.
Yeah.
Some of those catalogues consisted of over 100 horses, I think was my biggest
Yeah.
catalogue in America.
Yeah.
I've had 41 auctions in New Zealand.
Mm.
And now we're, I think, at 408, about nearly 500 catalogues we've had here in Australia, because we're doing an auction every week here in Australia now. And we're selling about 100 horses a week. Sometimes we're doing 500 horses a month now in Australia. So things are going quite well. They're good.
Very good. And at the start, when you started the business, I believe, everything new, when someone is used to do certain things for a long time and you introduce them a new way,
Yeah.
people at the start, they always tend to be a little bit defensive.
Yeah.
Did you have at the start the reaction?
Yeah, look, that was a really good point, because I think that's part of the story. I remember when I started, because I was breeding horses, racing horses, and I was, I'm one of those people that's sort of boots and all. I'm not going to do this half-hearted. I bought a share in a horse, then I bought a horse. Next thing you know, I had 40 of my own horses. I'm like, what the fuck? That wasn't part of the master plan. So, anyway, I'm like, the only people making money at that point was realistic, because farming's tough.
Yeah.
And horse racing comes under farming.
Yes.
So farming is tough, and given that I'm not from generation to generation horse breeder, it was quite tough. And I'm like, I needed to think a little bit outside the square. And at that time, it was Magic Millions and Inglis's who were my competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I need to play in that space. I wanted to do what they were doing. I really love the auction. I love real estate. I love auctions. They're exciting. Yeah. Why can't I do that as well? So, and then I thought, well, they've got 150 years of history.
Yeah.
I don't have that. So I had to do it different, and we put it online. So, no, that was, look, in the beginning, to answer your question, I remember going on these road trips. And I'd rock up to these these nights where I put on a seminar, or and I'd go to these shout nights, and literally we've got one tomorrow at Cranbourne, just for the record. We do these shout nights where we put on drinks and food, and we preach. And I remember turning up and people go, mate, what are you talking about? How are you going to sell your horse on eBay? You can't sell horses on eBay. This is livestock. And I do remember, I'm not going to say where, I remember having a guy say to me, I was up there on the stage, he goes, mate, how am I going to get the horse and put it in the computer? And I'm like, well, this is what I'm dealing with. And look, don't get me wrong. These guys, we all we'll have our strengths and weaknesses. And the guy was quite concerned on how he was going to physically get the horse and put it in the computer. So, we did have our, we had people who were saying it's not going to work, and some people didn't want it to work for all different types of reasons. But, I'm like, I was adamant this was going to work, and I continued on with my road trip, and I was preaching and, copying the criticism and stuff like that. But I think that helped me grow the business. I knew it was going to work. Sometimes when you hear that negativity and stuff like that, it doesn't really affect me, to be honest.
Good.
But you know that, hang on, I'm getting this noise, this background noise for a reason. And then I'm like, I'm going to grab this and run with it. Yeah.
That's actually such a good point. The background noise that comes to your head, dealing with the initial friction, especially because it was a startup. You're starting something new into an industry. I believe, I have no idea about the business, I'm just thinking, that has been done for a long time in a certain way. And when you introduce a better way, people always at the start tend to be defensive.
Yes.
And I actually respect that you kept going going through all the negativity. And I believe the clients there are mainly male dominated. Hey man, what are you
leaders,
guys? Shut up! Like they really tell you, they really put you down. They don't. They're not like soft. No, try to do. They tell you, man, what the fuck are you doing?
They're bulls. They are bulls. We have bulls in the industry.
In a certain way.
We have bulls in the industry, and they're actually bulls. But you know what? They all carry a different personality, and I understood where they were coming from. I think that was probably my point of difference. I'm a good listener, I think. So I just tried to understand the industry rather than fight the industry, or I just wanted to understand what do you need from me rather than put resistance up against. I mean, they've been doing it for hundreds of years. I'm not here to really stop the industry or have a negative impact on the industry. It's about positive. I was sharing the positive parts that I was bringing to the table for the industry, not so much any negativity. Okay, well, we're moving horses. Instead of having that horse that you've bred to the breeders, for you're carrying it for 3 years and then selling it, instead of having to turn up to a sales ring where it's raining and only 20 people turn up, why don't you sell it online? And if I've got 20,000 members, everyone can see it
Yeah.
every week. So it just
Yeah.
made so much sense. And then
Yeah.
when people started seeing the points I was saying, they knew I was there for the industry as well. I'm an
Yeah.
industry participant in myself. Then they started to get on the bandwagon, and then my
Yeah.
competitors were doing it as well. And, look, to be fair, initially I sold 27 horses out of, there's 25,000 transactions that happen a year. And now when I did it, there was only 27 that sold online. So it's not 1/100%.
Yeah.
But now there's about 70% of the transactions that are sold
Happen
online under
Yeah.
auction conditions because of the changes we implemented.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. And for people who like horses, like have no idea about the business, but they're such a beautiful animal.
Yeah.
They actually. Were you passionate about horses?
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
you have horses at the moment?
Yeah. So, yep, that's how I started actually. I bought a share in a horse. I had a bit of fun. It was winning.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is fun. And then I bought another horse, and then I bought a horse in its entirety. And I'm like, I want to buy some breeding stock. And I was actually really fortunate to get in the corner with some astute people. There's a guy called Vin Cox, and he was my bloodstock agent at the time. He's one of the, well, if not, he's the leader in the industry.
Yeah.
And I just, he was a bit of a guy. Like, I didn't live with the guy, but he gave me the right pointers, bought my first 5, 6 horses with me, came and looked at some farms. So I was guided by the right people initially, and I think that's important to make sure we are guided or mentored by the right people initially, especially. So, I was going down the right path, learning about the industry as I went, and then, like I said, I had 40 of my own horses, which is a lot, and I was lucky enough, and then I started running my own farms, but it was just hard making money. And I do recall at the sales, because I used to sell through my competitor, who my competitors are now, and flag it. They do a good job. They do. They carried the industry for a long period of time, but I remember selling with my competitors, and people would be coming back. I'd have 6 or 7 horses at the sales, or 5 that I was selling myself through my own farm, Jomar, and I remember being there, and people would be coming back and be high-fiving, because when we get a mare covered, so a female horse gets pregnant, say the service fee, so the male horse covers the female horse, and say it's $100,000.
Yeah.
So just the breeding alone cost them $100,000. Then they got to rear the horse, take it to the sale, so it probably owes them $200,000.
Yeah.
But they were coming back, and if they would sell the yearling for $100,000, they were happy. I'm like, hang on, what happened? Were you happy? And they go, yeah, that's what I paid for my service fee. I'm like, yeah, but you've carried it for 3 years. You're here. Business? This is not business.
Yeah.
That's not a business.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason why a lot of people said, oh, this guy's quite commercially minded. And I'm not a horse expert, but I knew enough about horses.
Yeah.
And I was really passionate about the industry. So I think that helped me a lot. And then people started getting on the bandwagon. They go, yeah, it makes sense. Why are we happy that we just got our money back? That's not business. And then, when we started introducing the online auction, there was options. People could trade horses more regularly. They could wheel and deal. They could buy and sell, sell shares. So it just made a lot of sense. And then people just started I just gravitate towards the online space. Yeah.
Very good. So you mentioned you can buy shares into a horse, so like for betting, is that correct?
No, well, there is the betting side, of course. And I guess our industry as a whole, like it is funded by betting.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we go to the races.
Yeah.
And punters are placing bets on horses, and there's a lot of money that's, taxes that are earned through that are feed the government, and taxes.
Yeah.
That's how the world rolls. But over and above the taxes, money gets come back into the industry. So it's like a cycle. We breed horses, go to the track. Prize money's great.
Yeah.
The dividends we get from the betting agencies, and so it's all one cycle.
Yeah.
But when we have shares, people can buy a share in a horse, so you can take 5% in a horse, and it doesn't cost you a hell of a lot of money. It doesn't cost you a hell of a lot of money. You can buy a 10% share, or you can buy the entire horse.
How much should they have? As let's say, I've heard actually 2-3 people, they just wanna get involved into it,
nice.
Just because they like it.
Yeah.
My space is real estate, and naturally, when we talk about it, they always say, "Oh, I bought a share into my horse."
Yeah.
How much money should they have if you want to put some money into a horse, and maybe?
Yeah, look, I think you need to understand what you're trying to get out of it. And I always say to people, if you are getting into the industry, you're playing to lose your money.
Yeah.
Because then you're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
It's not real estate. I
Yeah,
do know a
yeah,
good buyer's agent if you
yeah.
want to make good money. But no, it's not real estate.
Yeah,
It's not real estate, and people do make money. You hear about all the stories
yeah,
when people make money, whether it's punting or buying a share and it ends up becoming a colt or a stallion.
yeah,
But there's not many of those stories.
yeah,
Let's face it, you're playing, if there's 1 million people that are playing in horses, a very small percentage make money.
yeah.
Look, I don't want to turn people away from the industry, but when you are only investing $5,000 or $10,000, you're going to have a good time. And if you break even, that's a win. If you do win, that's a bonus. That's the way I tell people to play. But the amount of times, if you've got a share in a horse and you get to go to the track 10 times, 15, 20 times with some new friends, some networking opportunities, there is so much that horse racing offers. You can go to the track and you can be in a syndication with like-minded people. It might be business groups of people, or it might be just friends from the country.
Interesting.
So there's so many different opportunities in horse racing, and I just encourage people to get in for the right reason.
Yeah.
Make sure you're getting in because you want to have a good time, you want to meet people, and if you do make money on the back of that, well, that's a bonus.
So it's a good networking space.
The best thing, I don't know any industry, I couldn't think of any industry that would be a better networking space, better networking opportunities than horse racing.
That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
might
it.
see you down the track, hey?
Yeah, I know. I may come in. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe we can name a horse
look
after you.
after
Maybe
me,
we can get a share in a horse. We can name it after you. What do you think? The Italian
stallion.
stallion. Oh, how about that?
there you go. I like that.
The Italian
That-
stallion.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually so interesting. And thank you for clarifying. I love that. Okay, so, and horses is not just your thing. So, because you've done so many things, because you are a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So, you coming from, your parents migrated from Malta, is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. Yeah, Mum and Dad came out here some time ago. They came out here. Back then it was yourself. There wasn't a lot of opportunities over there, and probably from a bit of a war-torn country back in the day.
Yeah.
And they came to Australia, and my God, if you pay for a house, you get to own it. Imagine that. What a great country this is.
Yeah.
So there was just so much opportunity. My parents, God bless them, they're both passed, but they were just my rock, my mentors, my everything.
Sorry for interrupting. Did you say if you buy a house, you get to own it?
Yeah.
And in Malta,
Well, in Malta, even sort of now, you for the most part, you can buy a place and you might take a 99-year lease on the property.
Yeah.
It's that style.
Like in UK, yeah.
Yeah,
similar things, yeah.
And, here, if you work and you earn overtime, you get to keep all the money and you get paid double time and all this sort of stuff. There's just so much opportunity. If you want to earn more money, you get another job. Imagine that. You can just earn as much money as you want and you can save it and whatever you want to do. And there's just opportunity here. And the parents seen that when they came here. And they had, my sisters and I, and we just sort of built a life, and it was a good life.
How old were you? I mean, you're born here.
Yeah.
Your parents migrated from Malta.
Yeah.
And they installed to you these habits. Is that correct to say? Or you just developed yourself?
Yeah, look, no, well, it's probably fair to say my dad was a punter, actually. So Dad, he used to work.
There you go.
He always was a worker. We always had food to eat. There was always something there on the table.
Yeah.
Mum was a good provider. They weren't educated. They were doing cleaning jobs, factory jobs, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But there was always plenty of food on the table. But my dad, being a punter, he gambled. And so, look, a lot of the time the money went out the door. And to be honest, it's funny. Like I'm selling up to 500 horses a month now, or listing 500 horses a month.
Wow.
And I'm not really a punter. So I'll go to the track and put a couple $100 down or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not a hardcore punter. Like, I realised how gambling can have an impact on a family.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not going to say it affected me. It didn't. I just learnt from that. I seen, you go to work, you earn your money. Why would you want to lose it? And, so it didn't really affect me as an individual, but I can see what punting can do and how what kind of impact it can have on a family. So I don't really gamble. I put a few $100 down, but I'm not a big gambler.
Yeah, that's I've heard a lot of people, they just throw their life into the bin because of that.
I think control, like anything, anything in moderation.
Yeah.
Anything in moderation is good.
And what I respect, because you are into the industry and you are able to actually control it instead of be controlled.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think that's so important. That's a good point, actually.
I went to the races a couple of times and it was easy to. I put $50. I got excited. I put another 100 straight away. I mean, I lost $200, but it's very easy when you
Yeah.
get excited and maybe you had a couple of glass of champagne and
Yeah.
you spend more money.
You become invincible. Yeah.
Yeah, it could become addictive.
Actually, to be fair, I remember my first horse that I owned.
Yeah.
It was called Our Contender.
Yeah.
And it was a sure thing. I remember going to the track. I had the shares in it. It was actually with a trainer called Tim Martin. And back then, it was my first horse that I had. I bought it with Vin Cox. And I'm like, yeah, this is, I've got a tip that's going to win. I remember going to the track with my bum bag on and we're going to clean up. And like literally, I was going to pull so much money out, like enough money for a good deposit on a house.
Yeah.
And I was going to pull so much money out of the track. And at one, we were high-fiving, but then it was a photo finish. And it come second. So the horse got beat. And I'm like, you know what? That was the best lesson I ever learned. I went there and I thought I was going to win. I put a lot of money down for back then. That was a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
And I lost. I'm like, I remember losing the money. I'm like, that was so good. I'm glad I lost.
You happy to share how much you lost?
Well, back then it was probably about 15,000, but I was going to take out a couple of 100,000. And, the worst thing was imagine if I had won.
Yeah.
And I'd pulled out, say, 200,000 that day. I would have been addicted for life.
Yes, you would.
So it was such a blessing. And I literally, even when I lost it,
Yeah.
I didn't kick the wall. I wasn't angry. I was happy. I'm like, fuck, that was awesome. I'm glad I lost that money.
Yeah.
And then I don't gamble. So
is that correct to say that people get attracted by this short-term win, get rich quick?
Yeah, but it's like anything, isn't it, Perry? It's like, I guess people want the short term, when people want to get rich overnight, people, and this industry is a lot like that. They think it's going to be done in 15 minutes. They see someone buy a weanling for $3,000 and they sell it for $4 million. Well, I could do that too. You can, but they don't realize that bloodstock agent, who's like a buyer's agent, that bloodstock agent has been doing this for 20 years. He knows what he's looking at. That's why he's having a little win. Yeah. But you don't see the other 30 horses he lost money on either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's so fascinating. What would you say is the most expensive horses that you sold under online auctions conditions?
Yeah, under online auction conditions, we've sold horses for $400,000 or $500,000.
Yeah.
But as a whole within the industry, horses sell for millions and millions of dollars. So, and that's our target. So that's, in actual fact, that's what we're trying to close the gap on this year. I'm glad you brought that up. We are doing quantity, where the middle market, we're doing a lot of that. But we do want to now reach out to the, quality is really important within our space. Yeah. So quality is something we're really focusing on putting things in place to ensure we are getting the more valuable horses. Because I know within my team, I believe in my team and what with the systems we've got in place, our marketing team, and what we're doing moving forward. My database is actually the biggest database in Australia. So not just a database, it's a member base. It's like twice as big as my competitor. So for me, I know the horses I get. If I get the same horses my competitors get, I know I will get more money for them. So we've just got to make sure that people are, they're trusting our brand, and that's been growing. And so getting those marquee horses is something I'm really working on.
Yeah, interesting. And do you get a proper auctioneer who actually come and say, because I've seen stuff online, they speak fast.
Yes, yeah.
And
so, there's the traditional auctions where you can take your horse, and I've sort of gone away from that.
Yeah.
I've gone to the online space.
Yes.
So it's a virtual office.
Yeah.
It's a virtual auction. So people list their horses, they list them online, the horses get to stay home. And the auction itself is an automated auction. So we're going away from having the physical auction. I am an auctioneer. I'm an auctioneer's license, stock and station license. I have to have the same licensing to be able to trade thoroughbreds stock. So it is the same space, but we have gone away from, the guy standing up there and, it's not where we start, ladies and gentlemen. It's where we finish. We're not doing that stuff anymore. It's all online.
Yeah, because I'm trying to compare with real estate because they're doing quite a bit of online auctions in real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's start to boom in COVID.
Yeah.
And start to become more popular. They're still going face to face.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yes.
But if I compare, yeah, I've done a couple of auctions for clients online.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And do you
Uh,
like them? How do you find them?
yeah, I do like them.
Yeah.
Actually, being a buyer's agent, I always looking for ways where I can get a good deal for the buyer.
Mm.
So I always try to avoid competitive situation
Yeah,
because
nice.
I work for the buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, they pay me to get them a good deal.
Yeah.
So the strategy that I play is avoid competitive situation or secure it before everybody else.
Yeah, for sure.
But sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the vendors, they really want to go to auction. And now we did well. We
Mm.
did well.
Yeah. If you were
Worked
to,
well.
I guess if you were to sell, would you sell in an online situation?
Look, as a vendor, I would
Yeah.
until get me the results. So if I'm selling my property and I want to get the best price, I don't care if it's going to be face to face or
Yeah.
online, whatever get me better results.
Show me the money, baby. Show me the money.
100%. That's what
Yeah.
I think. I believe in horses as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. You want to be able to sell it online, get competition. But again, there are deals where I have sold more valuable horses and they are away from the spotlight
Yeah.
because some people don't want to expose their number,
Got it.
or they're looking to buy something for a certain reason and stuff like that. So there are reasons why we buy away from the spotlight under auction conditions, but it's no secret.
Yeah.
To avoid competition,
Yeah.
you buy or sell for less money typically.
Got
Because
it.
that's the beauty of being a buyer's agent. But my job is I work for my vendors. I never hide away from that. People say, look, I'm trying to buy a horse or this or that. Well, it's simple. I work for one person, the person listing the horse. I work for my vendors. I've got to get them as much money as possible.
Yeah.
So if we feel that horse needs marketing, promotion, I'll get a couple of my sales guys giving that horse a plug.
Yeah.
I've got to get as much money from my vendors. And that's
Yeah.
what we do, work for our vendors.
Yeah. Very good. I will say it's similar.
Yeah.
Similar situation. You're just selling horses and the auctioneer is selling houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Similar. Very good. Okay, so I'm curious, like going back to your background. So you were a hustler and you were selling lollies door to door.
Yeah, I was a hustler, all right. Where did it start? Probably starts from Monopoly. We have to play Monopoly one time. I've never lost a game of Monopoly. I fucking love Monopoly.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, no, look, I wasn't old enough to get a job, and I don't know. Ever since I was in kindy or year one or something, I always thought about owning a house, and I think it's because we didn't have a lot. I remember growing up, we never had a lot at all, actually, and but we had a roof over our head. I'm not complaining. I wouldn't have changed a thing because it was love and food,
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't have a lot, and I'm like, I need money. You need money. So I first started. I was too young to get a job. And we used to have a big jar and buy jelly beans, put them in, count the jelly beans. I used to go door knocking, and I think it was 20 cents or 50 cents. Do you want to guess how many lollies are in the jar? If you guess it, it's yours. And I remember literally my sister and her friends, in Mariong is where we grew up. And we used to go around knocking on doors. Do you want to have a guess how many lollies there are? Oh, yeah, 20 cents, whatever. And that was the first job, and we maybe pulled $5 out. We're working for days. And
Wow.
so I had
like
that
that.
and a few jobs, yeah.
Who gave you that idea?
Look, I don't know. I definitely didn't see it on Facebook or Instagram because it didn't exist back then. Yeah, so I can't really remember, but I knew I do recall. I still actually remember going to people's houses. It's something that's in my head. I still remember knocking on doors.
They give you, because I worked at door to door. I was a kid. I've done it for years. It teaches you a lot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like the people skills, the face to face,
Yeah.
the interaction,
Yeah.
the sales skills, to listen.
Yes.
And I've done like electricity, sold door to door. I've done solar panels,
Oh wow.
and I've done food delivery, HelloFresh, and I actually enjoyed it. It was
Yeah, it's
actually
good.
fun.
It's good. I think it's funny. I love talking to people. I love networking. And I cope with rejection really well. It's probably what I look like. No, I'm joking. I actually like the rejection because I like to try to turn that around as well. So when it comes to people saying, look, it's not for me, I'm comfortable with that space. And I actually think that's really important in sales. I talk to my staff, my sales team. I get up a lot and I say, what's the most three important things in what we're doing at the moment? It's number one is listening. 2 is listening, and 3 is listening. Listen to the people.
Yeah.
And then you can, when you're getting rejected, if you're listening, you try to understand why you're not getting something across the line. And I feel like we've got such a good product. It's a good service. We're very honest. We do the right thing. It's a good service for the industry. So I'm really comfortable in pushing what we do.
Yeah.
I think people say, if you believe in what you're doing
What are you
and
selling?
you're doing something good for the community, for the industry, it's an easy sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Mm.
agree. Never sold anything that I was sold myself. That's
Mm.
why I just find it easier
Yeah.
to sell something that one, you using it yourself. Like when I was selling food delivery, I was using it myself.
Sure.
I just was finding it easier to deliver the message to someone,
Yeah.
explaining the benefits.
You're still eating it, mate. You look good.
Oh, yeah. I lost 10 kilos now anyway. Okay, so you were selling lollies door to door, and you were helping charities as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the time, I remember, it's funny, the door-to-door sales of the lollies, that was the next phase. So I did the lolly competitions. And then the next phase was actually selling lollies. There was the cystic fibrosis. And I remember my sister had a job selling lollies, door knocking.
Yeah.
And, they used to sell $1 a bag, and she would get 50 cents per bag. And I was like, can I come? And I was too young. I think I was 11. You needed to be 13 or something at the time. Whatever I was. But anyway, I remember one day my sister was selling these lollies with this company 3 or 4 days in.
Yeah.
And they had no one turn up except my sister. And I remember this big guy used to turn up, and they used to put the lollies at the back of his trunk. And I said, can I come? And they go, no, you're too young. I said, just let me come. Anyway, I was allowed to go. And I remember getting I used to have these little baskets. And I don't know, there was maybe 20 bags of lollies in it. I remember going knocking on people's doors, and I used to say to people, Anthony here, I'm selling lollies for cystic fibrosis. Are you interested in buying a bag? They go, oh, no, we're right. I go, no, it's for cystic fibrosis. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And they go, no, mate, I've just walked here, cystic fibrosis. And they go, okay, just give me a bag. And then I'd say, well, how many bags do you want? And they go, I go, well, if you buy 4, you get 1 free, whatever the deal was.
Yeah.
And I just remember I would never leave. If someone's opened the door, I'm not going without you buying. And I was this little kid. I was probably cute back then. So I remember I was this little kid, and everywhere I'd go, I'd be knocking, and I wouldn't leave unless they bought. I was never rude. I was a very polite kid. Manners were, came from a very, we were never allowed to swear or do anything like that back then. But I remember, I would never leave a house without them buying a bag of lollies.
Giving them the lollies. I love that. Okay, so and after that, you start to grow up, and you embark yourself into the electrical business.
Yeah, I was actually a
It became big, huh?
Yeah, I had a company called AJG Electrical. I had like 100 staff. It was actually quite a good company, but I was working for builders. I started off as a sparky, then I had a bloke, and then we went from there and grew. And I was working for a lot of builders, and I was always chasing money. I was working for people like Adco, Grinley, Southern Cross, Fusion, Painter Dixon, Kane, Multiplex, these companies. And back then it was the global financial crisis, and I could never get money out of them. I'm like, you know what? We're fucking good at what we do. We turn up on time. We always finish on time. We abide by the contract. We're never late. I turn up every day for them, and I'm like, you know what? We're actually really good at what we do. And then at the end, there was just no money. So it didn't matter how good I was or how good my team were. We just weren't getting paid because there was no money in the jar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I doing this? Why the fuck am I begging you for money when I finish the job? And I was sick of hearing, it was like a cliche. They'd always say, oh, Anthony, look, the last claim is X amount of dollars. We'll fix you up on the next one. And as a young sparky coming through, I'm trying to grow a company. I wanted to have, this big empire of a company. I'm like, why am I always just waiting for the next one? I don't want to play anymore. Anyway, I'm like, I don't want to work for you anymore. So that's when I had to start thinking again. And I started a few other businesses, and it went from there.
Well, 100 people is pretty big.
Yeah. It was a good space. I had, mostly as well, they were all employees, and then I had contractors as well. But for the most part, they were employees, and I was actually not the youngest, but probably one of the youngest in the crew.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got my first job. Actually, I declare it on camera. I didn't really have staff, and I remember going to a meeting, and they said, "How many staff you got?" and I knew that you needed 20 on this job. I said, I've got 20. You know, I've got 20. And I had me and an apprentice, you know, and I got this job. And
Yeah.
and then I actually then thought, how am I going to recruit? I actually then started a recruitment company. So then I started leading edge recruitment to recruit people. And then that was actually a good company in itself as well. So I had my electrical business going.
Yeah.
And because I needed staff,
Yeah.
I then started a recruitment company, and that was firing as well. So
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy. It was actually some crazy times. And, you know, you just learn to roll with the punches and make shit happen. You know, I love
Yeah.
pressure. Throw me in the deep end, I'll swim, baby.
Oh, I love that. And what do? You sold the business and you...
Yeah, look, the electrical business and the HR business, I still had someone running it up until a year ago.
Wow.
Because I just shut down. I just shut working for the clients that I didn't want to work for. I did have some offers for the business. It wasn't worth enough money to sell, so I sort of just winded them down, to be honest.
Got it.
Yeah, just, you know, can you get a payday? And my view on this was with them, can I get a payday of, say, call it $10, and then me having to answer to these guys for the next 5 years? I didn't really want to do that. I'd been servicing clients for, say, 15 years. We'd had such a good relationship. For me to get a payday and hand these clients over to somebody else, look, if the money was right, I would have sold the company. But they just weren't worth enough. They were service businesses.
Yeah.
No longer had contracts. So to me, it just made sense to wind them up.
Yeah. And after that, you choose to embark yourself into online auction.
Yeah, correct. So now, I'm fully dedicated into bloodstock auction and some online businesses, and I'm developing other stuff as well now. Yeah.
And while you did all of this, you became a father.
Yes.
3 kids.
The highlight of my career.
Like, you know, building businesses, moving to another business, HR, and like, wow, 3 kids?
Yeah, I've got 3 beautiful children. Mary, 18. She's in real estate, actually.
There you go.
She works for McGrath's. She got a gig at McGrath's, Mary. And then Eva, my middle daughter, she's doing a HSC. She's the academic one. And then my son, Anthony Jr., he's very much like me, poor kid. He's right into jiu-jitsu, actually.
There you go.
He loves his jiu-jitsu. He actually just won the South Pacific and Australian
there
titles. He's a beast. Yeah, he's a little
nice.
beast. He's actually going really good in jiu-jitsu, and he's loving that space. He would love to leave school and become a UFC fighter, but he's not doing that just yet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good man. What's his name?
Anthony Jr., Anthony Gaffa. Yeah.
Mate, really?
Yeah.
Like you?
Yeah.
No, because I hang around all of these gyms, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he's at Botany, Gracie, Botany there. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to train there. Very good.
Mm.
Good gym. Mate, well done.
Yeah.
So the question I wanted to ask you, this is more for a personal father leadership. What are you teaching to your kids that nobody taught you when you were young, but you discovered by living?
Yeah, look, given what I've learned in life about business, being an entrepreneur, we do need to strive. We need to be able to put your blinkers on, block out the world, and focus on yourself. But I think if there was, people say a lot of the time, what would you change, or what advice would you give your 20-year-old self, or whatever? You need to slow down and smell the roses along the way.
I like that.
I think it's really important that you never know when your last fucking day is.
Yeah.
I've got friends that are getting injured. This happens, that happens, and they're dead. We set these goals and we want to do this, we want to conquer the world, but is it the end result? Is it the end result that's so important? That we might get there when we're 50, 60, 70, whatever the number is. And then we're no longer useful anymore.
Yeah.
But if you can enjoy the journey along the way, doesn't matter how entrepreneurial you are. If you take a Sunday out and hang out with the kids, or it's like, fuck, I need to do this more often.
Yeah.
So slowing down along the way and smelling the roses. But smelling the roses to me means the phone's off. You're away on an island, trying to block out time, doing whatever you're doing, but just smell the roses.
Yeah.
Don't just look at the picture. Don't look at the roses when you just stop and smell the fucking roses. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Slow down and smell the roses.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think it's a good one. Yeah.
It is a very good one.
Yeah, I've got to learn. I actually haven't mastered it. I'll be honest. I haven't mastered it. But I'm trying to get better at doing that.
Yeah, and the first mentioned this, especially if you are kind of like an overachiever, someone who wants to get things done every day. Is learning when to slow down and when to be present, and when I went through stages where I was trying to do so many things at the same time, but was not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
that
mean? I was
happens.
doing a smell of a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of
Yes.
like a bit of a ADHD.
Yeah.
And
It's the
that's
story of my
probably
life. Yeah.
me as well. And I'm getting better. It's good. Thank you for bringing this one up, because
Yeah.
it's very powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Do you do
it's a good one.
anything to actually put you in the zone? And this can be meditation, and this can be ice bath, or maybe you go for a walk. Do you do
Sure.
anything of this stuff?
Well, I did do, like growing up, I did martial arts for about 20 years of my life. So I was right into martial arts myself.
Uh-huh.
And I was always sort of changing, did a bit of kickboxing, a bit of Muay Thai, a bit of boxing, and, a bit of Chinese box. So I was always into that space.
Yeah.
And I think that helped in my grounding initially. Do I sit down and meditate? No. But I find it really important for me of a morning, I'll have my zone where I go and have a coffee and plan my day by myself.
Yeah.
So it's planning, I guess. But I get to the gym at 5 o'clock every morning. I go to the gym every morning, 5 o'clock, and I make sure I do my 10,000 steps. Something we spoke about earlier. To me, that's really important, being able to do that thing. Some people say eating alone, you look like a dickhead. But I actually like eating. I like my own space. When I go sometimes, whether it's watching a movie, eating alone, I clear my mind, I think. And, to me, I really am comfortable in my own space. It's not because I don't have friends. I can always get on the phone and ring a friend. But I find even traveling on my own is pretty cool. Because if I'm going, I recently went overseas, and if I went with my friends, I'd be just doing the friend things that we always do.
Yeah.
But it forces you to go on a group walk with different people, or day trips and stuff like that. So I do like doing things on my own. I'm really comfortable in my own space. And it's not meditation, but that's how my mind works.
I like that. That's more like learning how to be comfortable in silent.
Yeah.
I like that. I often do myself as well, just because it is the time when you reflect.
Yeah.
And you kind of digest.
Yeah.
Your day-to-day learnings. You move to the next thing. Mate, that was brilliant.
Oh,
thank you so much. You've been very open about it, and you've been very unfiltered.
Yes.
Which lead me to your next...
Yeah, thank you.
Which is your next project, is that correct? So you are starting your new podcast, which is called Unfiltered with Gafa. Is it Gafa Unfiltered? How do you
come straight from my friend over here. Yeah, look, that's always something it's actually not something I'm just plucking out of the sky. We've been working on it for just over 12 months now.
Yeah.
We're actually building our own podcast room. It's it's halfway through progress. But we've now got the name. We ran a competition. We've got a name. It's called Unfiltered with Gafa.
Nice.
So yeah, mate, look, you're killing it. This thing's going really well for you, and it's the space moving forward. Given I'm branching out overseas and doing some stuff internationally now within business and other businesses, I need to look at. It was always very difficult for me to push into international space when I've got 3 followers, and they're my kids.
Yeah.
People look these days, whether we like it or not, you're determined how good you are on how many followers you are. I need to create my presence, my online presence. That's what I'm working towards. And I love talking to people. I love being here today. I appreciate you bringing me in. And so Unfiltered with Gafa is my next big thing. That's what I'm really working on. So stay tuned for Unfiltered with Gafa.
Very good. If people want to reach out to you, or want to send you an email, or contact you, or they're interested regards online horses or whatever, where they can contact you? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram's probably go. All my handles are I am Anthony Gaffa. So
I will put a link below.
Thanks for that. Yeah, so I'm always interested in people wanting to put themselves forward, to come on the podcast, chat with people. I'm all about, I get probably on a weekly basis, or more than per week. I get a couple a week where people are pitching ideas to me, which I love that. That's the space I'm going into as well. I want to invest in other people's businesses moving forward. That's, if you look on my links there on Instagram and whatnot, that's the space I'm moving into, is about me being able to invest in other people's businesses as well. I'm a people person. I invest in people. I'm very big on that. I'm all about, look, don't get me wrong, I don't want to employ dumbasses, but I lean more towards attitude as opposed to academics. Sorry, I probably should have said that on camera.
Yes, sir.
But no, I have always been, I lean towards attitude as opposed to academic. So, but, I'm a people person. I love people, and that's what it's all about, right?
That's brilliant. Anthony, thank you so much for coming in, mate. I appreciate
Thank you for having me, my friend.
Thank you for making time for me. Appreciate it, mate.
Thank you.
This is general advice and does not take into account your objectives, situations, or needs. You should consider if this advice is suitable to you and your personal circumstances. Please read any applicable PDS beforehand.